Before watching, please subscribe.
Haikyu, one of the best shows, one of the best animes, one of the best forms of media ever created. At the time of this video, episode 24 of the 4th season, Monsters Ball, had came out about 4 days ago. The purpose of this video is more for memories of myself, to see what I think about Haikyu now than what I think in the future. However, I am still uploading this to YouTube, and I know my channel is small, but if anyone happens to pass by and sees this video, please watch, please listen, and please hear what I have to say about the show. I truly think Haikyu is a masterpiece. Around the time I watched Haikyu, I was around like the middle of my anime watching career, if you want to call it that. At that point in my life, I was still watching anime as if they were like just Japanese cartoons, you know? Like no real meaning to the show. Didn't really follow the story. It was all about the action for me. Growing up as a kid, you know, we all watched Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon. Maybe some of us got a little further into Toonami or Adult Swim, and we watched like the likes of Bleach, One Piece, Naruto, Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, Inuyasha, you know, all those things that showed up. Eureka 7, Fooly Cooly, whatever, right? But growing up, I didn't understand the concept of anime or cartoons. I'm 27, by the way, so that could give you an idea of the time period. But it wasn't really until like whenever Kill la Kill came out when I started watching anime knowing that it was anime. And even until then, I didn't really watch anything at all besides, you know, like SpongeBob or Ed, and Eddie. And it's not like, you know, I didn't watch it because, oh yeah, you know, back then people thought it was lame and, you know, it's for gay dudes, as people would say back then. But I just didn't know it existed or the idea of it. I didn't know where Japan was. And yeah, and it's kind of funny that Kill la Kill is like the first anime that I watched knowing it was anime. You know, it's a bit of an overwhelming anime to watch with all the you know, plot, but it was recommended to me by a friend, and hey, even then somehow I guess I liked it, and maybe it was for, you know, all the plot and stuff. But yeah, at that point I became a fan of just anime in general. And after Kill la Kill, I went back, I watched the likes of, say, Gurren Lagann, I watched Nisekoi, I watched Samurai Champloo, Black Lagoon, Fooly Cooly, just a lot of stuff back then. You know, as I feel like when you're a new anime watcher, you can't really understand what you're really watching. For like example, when I watched Gurren Lagann, it was like, yeah, this is awesome, fighting, action, character dies. By the way, this will be spoiler heavy. If you haven't watched any of these shows, just don't even bother. Yeah, like, I didn't understand story. I didn't understand the concept of caring for these characters. I just wanted to see people fight and blow shit up. And around when I started watching Haikyu, it really was no different. Haikyu was already on its 2nd season, so I don't know what year that came out, and I pretty much binged through the entire thing. And you know, I enjoyed it, not for the reasons I like it now, but I enjoyed it because it was hype. To me, it was like, wow, how can they make volleyball, a sport that I've never played, never even cared about until now, so hyped, you know? And they managed to do it. And it wasn't until the 3rd season when like things really took off for me, when anime as a genre started changing for me. You know, the part when Suki blocked the ball from Shiratorizawa. It was at that point where I realized that like anime is different. Anime is not senseless violence, though it depends on the show. It's not mindless cartoons. It's a story, you know. Because the other thing I didn't realize is that anime comes from manga 90% of the time. It has a source material, and yeah, you know, at that point when Suki did what he did in that third season, everything changed for me. I started to see things differently. I actually started to rewatch a lot of old animes I watched, like Black Lagoon and Gurren Lagann, and that's when I finally started to understand and finally started to see shows for what they were. Even when I was watching something like Code Geass or Death Note, which is a show you're supposed to be thinking about, like I really was just there for the action. I don't even know how I got through shows like that with that kind of thing in mind, you know? The show gets compared to what all the time? It gets compared to the likes of Kuroko no Basket, you know, as its other sports anime. And I could see why they do that. Kuroko no Basket is a very good anime. It has a lot of similarities. It teaches you the game, both volleyball and basketball. It teaches you how to do everything. It makes you care about the characters that are in the show. But I feel like compared to Haikyu, Kuroko has nothing. Still a good show, but I don't think it has anything when you compare it to Haikyu. First of all, the characters in Haikyu are believable. They actually look their age, right? Where in Kuroko no Basket, these characters are actually the same age, I think, if I remember. Like, Kagami is a first year, just like Hinata. So they're both 14, 15 at most. But Kagami looks like he's like 26. And Hinata actually looks like he could be 14. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If you've watched the JoJo series, you know that age is not age does not exist as a concept. You can look however you want. You could probably even be like 1 year old, and well, I guess if you watch the Monogatari series too, then vampires, but that's besides the point. Kuroko is just, I like it. I cared for the characters, right? They all had their struggles, you know. Unlike Haikyu, these struggles don't last very long. Most of the time, they just last within the show, or like within games that they play. Like a lot of times, the struggles that happen tend to be like in a practice game. They kind of keep up with the characters, sort of, but like after you beat them, they kind of just like stay in. They kind of just show up in the stadium and have their like little post commentaries, or not post commentaries, during commentaries, live commentaries, I guess you should say. Like yeah, you see them cry when they realize something or when they lose, but it never had the same impact that Haikyu did. If you thought the Fate series kept track of their characters well, I had to tell you that Haikyu does it way better. Because unlike in Haikyu, in the Fate series, these characters eventually die. So you slowly lessen the amount of characters you have. On Haikyu, everyone's still alive, and they're all still trying their best. And the other thing about Haikyu is that you really care for the teams, and like all of them, not just like one character in the team, like in Kuroko where you only care about Aomi, really. Like Kisei's team, you only care about Kisei, you know? You don't care about the rest of them. At least for me. I know they tried to build up the opponent, the other side characters in Kuroko, but like it's not the same as the level that they put in Haikyu. I used to think Haikyu was a show about volleyball. In fact, I might be wrong about this, but the author, he used to play volleyball, but he didn't believe in himself as a competitive player, So he quit volleyball and instead made a manga, and somehow I think that ended up being better. I don't know what the industry for manga and anime media looks like when it comes to money, but it became very popular, as you can see. So I'm proud, or I'm happy that it's come as far as it did. Haikyu is a show about the characters, right? Coming of age, maybe you could say. It's a show about the struggles, individual struggles. It's a show about the characters, but also how to play volleyball. In my opinion, Haikyu is probably one of the best shows out there ever made. I would say masterpiece, easily. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I debate really strongly whether it's in my top 10 or top 5. I think it might have to go in my top 5, especially after season 4. So it does have one episode left, so we'll have to see for this season. But yeah, as a show, you start to realize that the show isn't just about Hinata and Kageyama, right? It's about the entire team. It's about the entire game, the community as a whole. And so the character development in this show is some of the best that I've ever seen, in my opinion. Better than the likes of, say, Simone from Gurren Lagann. Better than Kirito. Just kidding. Better than Rock from Black Lagoon. Especially Hinata, man. Like, Hinata was being built up from the beginning. Oh, and just so you know, like, Hinata never sucked at the game. I guess to the pros, yeah, he might have sucked, but for an average player, like, if he were to play us, Hinata is not a bad player. Like, the fact that he's talented enough to jump as high as he can and spike, and he can block somehow, like, it already says how good he is. Like, he was never bad. If you were talking about like a casual volleyball player, and you gotta remember, he got this good. Like, he's receiving already, and it's not. Of course, he probably learned from Nishinoya. He probably learned from continuously playing the game, but it's not far to say that he's always had that ability to receive spikes like that we saw in the 4th season. It's definitely not impossible, because I believe that some things you could just act on instinct, but it's something that you don't realize like until you actually see it. It's not an instinct until you realize it, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Like, he probably always had that ability because he's so fast, which was stated in season 1, probably I think episode 2, right? That he was fast and he could react fast. It's just that he never attempted, you know? His only purpose was to spike, which is all he wanted to do. But seeing it, like, I started playing volleyball, and receiving is the hardest thing to do, right? You know, the show was so good it made me start playing volleyball. And, you know, I wasn't good. My whole gameplay was like an Aomine style from Kuroko, where he kind of just plays by himself, except the difference between me and him is that I'm not good. Like, my only point was to, like, just hit the ball over the net and not really pass it at people. And as time went by, I eventually got better, but it took years. You gotta remember, like, we've been watching Haikyu for like, what, 5 or 6 years at this point, and there hasn't really been a time skip. It hasn't even been past the first year. They're still first years, Kageyama and Hinata. So to see him get good that quickly is actually insane. The fact that he could receive a spike from Ojiro Aaron, I think his name is, which I'm assuming he has one of the strongest spikes in the series, right? To see him do that multiple times, it's not far to say that was just hidden talent, latent ability that he didn't know about. To see him change so drastically, and honestly, I don't know if he actually did, if that was just him the entire time, right? Because they don't really explain why Hinata just started receiving when in like the last game, or like the first set of that game, he was receiving with his feet. even though he had his whole arc in the first couple episodes of the series, or of season 4, where he was trying to be the best ball boy he could be. I truly believe that it was just something he always had. In the last 4 episodes of this show, man, like, I did not think, if I binged through it, I don't think my heart could take it, because I would cry every episode and probably break down in tears and think about my life as it is now, watching these 4 episodes back to back. We care about all of them, even characters that didn't get that much development, like Suga and Daichi. Like, even though they don't get much development in the show, you care about all of them. You want to see them all succeed. And I'm honestly scared of what will happen after they graduate. You know, Tanaka, I could relate with him so much. He thinks of himself as an average player. And there's these times where he goes down these holes of depression, but he's able to climb back up. Tanaka is such a good character. Like, I'm pretty sure he will be the ace once the 3rd years are gone. But seeing him struggle, oh, that episode was so good. I can't even get the words out right. But that episode was just where he learned that cut shot. I almost cried when I saw that. I could not take it. Like, I hope all these characters, like, I really hope nothing bad happens to them. Tanaka was working on that cut shot since, like, the very first season. I think he even attempted to do it when he killed Daichi in season 2. Suki as a character, I don't know. Suki's so... I never actually hated him in the show, like, ever. I always thought he was actually kind of funny. But to see him change like that, not really liking the game to actually liking the game, seeing him starting to slowly respect Hinata and Kageyama. Kageyama too, you know, from being the, what do they used to call him? King of the court, to what he is now. Someone who cares about his teammates, I think. I'm not really sure if he actually does, but I would like to think he does. Every now and then he would inch up and connect with the other players just a little bit, like a little bit at a time every time. And when Suki was doing the commentary for that final game, the final point, I think I almost broke. Like, they chose to make him do the commentary, and I these writers, these anime, they know what they're doing. Like, they just know. I know this whole recording is just rambling, right? I know it is. I didn't write any script for this. I kind of just tried to think it up in my head a little bit. I wanted to do it in one take because I wanted to be like from the heart. But now that I think about it, it's so hard to talk like this, you know? And plus, I don't really record like this, and I'm literally talking to myself, which is kind of weird, but I guess I'll get used to it. I'm probably going to title this show Haikyu is the best anime ever made or something. It's probably going to be clickbait, but how else am I going to get you guys to click? As a show, it does get a 10 out of 10 for me, but I don't think it's my favorite anime of all time just yet. My favorite animes are secret right now. I'll reveal them soon, if ever the channel gets popular in any way, or I start to get just a little bit more views. A lot of people don't want to watch it because it's a sports anime, you know, and I think that's fine, right? I think that's a fine thing to say for someone that's a normie, you know, a beginner. Sports anime, I mean, it's beginner friendly. Haikyu is beginner friendly, but I would say, yeah, just stick to shonens like My Hero Academia, watch Dragon Ball Super or Black Clover or Naruto or something, Demon Slayer. I don't know what the stigma for that is. Maybe people think it's a little bit too cultured to go that deep, where, like, you know, you're not just watching the popular anime where a lot of fighting and heroes and stuff. You know, what the heck is this volleyball sports anime? I don't want to watch that. I think it's time that people stop that stigma, that stereotype. Maybe they're afraid that if they watch that, they'll start watching other things. but you really shouldn't be afraid of that. Just give it a chance as an anime. Don't think of it as a sports anime. Just think of it as an anime. Watch it, and maybe you'll like it. This video might end up sounding very rough. Maybe I'll actually try to write a script one day and redo this. But as it is now, I think I'll just put it in like this. Would I go as far to say that Haikyu changed my life? Maybe indirectly. Maybe I took some lesson out of it. One thing's for sure though, like you shouldn't just stop just because something's too hard. Struggle is part of the process. And if you try to skip the struggle part, you'll never make it. Hinata as a character, he comes from the perspective of a person who has to start from the bottom. Aside from his jumping ability, right? The show put him in a position where he did have to start from the bottom. He's short and no one notices him as a presence. He sucks, quote unquote, and in order to gain the respect of others, he had to show the work. And guess what he did every single episode? He showed the work. No matter what anyone ever said to him, he put in work. Every single team that was introduced belittled him, thought of him as not a threat. They even thought he wasn't a player. To most people, that would be like the comedy relief part, which was the intention to animate it the way they did was to make it funny. It wasn't just something to throw away. That was actually what was happening. Hinata is probably the personification of unrelenting determination, right? He just wants to play the game, and he'll do anything to stay in the court for as long as possible. Episode 24, 4th season, when they did the double block, it's so symbolic that they stopped the quick that they invented. It also gave me, if you watch the Kuroko no Basket Last Game movie, it gave me the double dunk, Aomine and Kagami double dunk vibes. Who gets the point? Who gets the point on that one, right? Is that even legal? I think I like volleyball more because the teamwork aspect is the perfect sport for an anime too, because it adds teamwork and that means characters. Kuroko is the same, but as you saw with Aomine, basketball could be played solo to a certain extent. And the other thing about Kuroko no Basket and Haikyu is Kuroko, they follow like these stereotypes where these characters have this one very strong personality trait. I don't know what Kuroko is. I don't know how you would define him, but Aomine is like the hot-headed, doesn't try, cool type character. Kisei is the one that looks up to everybody. Akashi is literally final boss personified. Murasaki Bara, always tired, not trying, doesn't care. Midorima, glasses. I'm convinced glasses is a personality in anime at this point. They kind of just stick to that one specific trope, right? They don't really stray away from those things that they were given, you know? And then the other thing is, even though Kuroko is in the realm of possibility of like what humans could actually do, there are some things in that show that are literally just like, there's just no way, you know? Like, even Akashi is believable to an extent, but not at the level that he uses it. Midorima, his whole thing is as long as he gets the form right, he never misses, and from anywhere. To give him 100% is kind of, that's a superpower. Like, it just is. I would say like at least 90. You know, Steph Curry always makes most of his shots, but even he misses some. Murasaki Bara is probably the most believable, but then you remember he's only 14. And then Kisei is probably the most hacks of them all. He's able to literally copy everyone just by watching them once. Like, those are superpowers, bro. Like, I believe the zone. The zone is a real thing, but like the actual powers that they have as individuals, those are superpowers. Aomine is probably the most realistic out of all of them, to be honest. And then Kuroko is probably the most hacks of them all, right? Forget Kisei. Kuroko's the most hacks. You can't just delete your presence for a whole game, right? I could believe deleting it once or twice, but like the entire, like if you steal the ball once, you know, you should be a target for the rest of the game. You're able to steal the ball that much, like people gotta watch you, bro. There's just no way. And it's not even that, like as the show progressed, which they did touch on, but I think they should have touched on it way faster. They know Kuroko exists as a player. They know what he does. They should have figured him out like season 1. But we're not talking about Kuroko no Basket, right? Even though we kind of did for half of this recording. We're talking about Haikyu. And Haikyu is 100% in the realm of possibility. In fact, I'm pretty sure everything that happens in that show is 100% possible. And actually, things that have been done many times. The only unrealistic thing is probably how high Hinata jumps. I'm not saying that short people jumping high is something that's impossible, but I'm pretty sure I remember an episode where his waist was over the net, and I'm pretty sure even the tallest people in volleyball have not reached that height, where their waist literally goes over the net. I think that's just an anime thing, so you could forgive that. Anyway, yeah, the show was good. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. It came out a little rough. It was my first review ever. Haikyu is really one of my favorite shows ever. I think you should give it a try if you haven't yet. If this video gets popular and all, I'll do more stuff. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. It would really help out. I want to make this like my thing, and hopefully if it gets popular, it'll happen. So again, thanks for watching. Tune in next time. I got another one planned out. Hopefully you guys will like it, and hopefully you guys will like this video as well. Thanks.
It's